Hey tasters, do you know what I love about rosé? It has the fruity character of a red wine, but the lightness and acidity of a white wine. This fluid dual nature gives us a wine of such grace and elegance that it will effortlessly fit in with any dish and any occasion. Yet inexplicably, there are so many rosé haters out there, and I have yet to hear any coherent argument against rosé. It seems to come down to just, I don't like pink. Whatever. I think we need new ideas, and so often new ideas come to us from the new world. It is Pride Month, tasters. And given our lockdown situation, I have been celebrating LGBTQI plus pride with a bucketful of queer cinema and a bucketful of really interesting wine. Like this absolutely fantastic Chilean rosé from Chile with Pride, which I have paired with another Chilean masterpiece, A Fantastic Woman by Sebastian Leilo. A Fantastic Woman is a wonderful film about a trans woman called Marina whose boyfriend dies suddenly of an aneurysm on the night of her birthday. Her subsequent interactions with the deceased man's family, but also various figures of authority such as the police and the doctors, are an elegant discussion of the kind of attitudes transgender individuals have to deal with every day in our society. I could talk about this film for hours, so feel free to send many thanks to my friends who have challenged me to keep it down to 3 points, because otherwise this would be a 2-hour video of me going, and another thing. So here are 3 ideas that have given me pause for thought while I was watching this film. First of all, the highly problematic trans ally character, and excuse me, I'm gonna have a sip of this before I go on, because she's highly problematic. So this character is called Adriana. She's a female police officer. I think she's a detective, and she's very keen right from the start to present herself as an ally. She explicitly says, and I quote, "I want you to know that I understand and support you." But it soon becomes clear that this so-called ally's ability to understand Marina is highly limited. The only narrative that makes sense to this detective is one that casts this transgender woman either as a prostitute or as a victim of an abusive relationship. And because Marina refuses to play to that story because it's simply not true, this so-called ally becomes passively aggressive and resentful towards her. At one point she says angrily, "Why didn't you call me back? I was waiting." So she coerces Marina into appearing for an examination that she has not consented to, and it becomes quite clear at the medical center that the only reason she's pushing Marina towards this process is because she wants to ogle at her body. This curiosity is bordering on fetishism. This exam is not required. The pretext is that Marina has been physically abused by Orlando, but Marina has denied that this has ever happened. And just think about this. Think about so many times that the police turn up at the door of a woman who has been abused, and she opens the door and she's covered in bruises, massive black eye, and she says, "I fell down the stairs." And at this point, the police are happy to just throw their hands up and say, "Well, there's nothing we can do. She's not willing to press charges." In this case, somehow Even though there is no visible sign of any abuse whatsoever, this detective insists on this examination before she'll drop her line of inquiry that Marina has been abused. And what's Adriana's motivation? Well, that soon becomes clear when the officer who's taking the photos asks her to leave the room to protect Marina's modesty. It's clear that this is standard procedure, but Adriana point blank refuses and takes this opportunity to stare at Marina when she reveals herself. A lot of intersex and trans people report on this being a very common phenomenon, actually, where figures of authority, doctors or police officers, put them through unnecessary examinations purely out of curiosity, because they want to have a look. And somehow it seems that a trans person's body is in the public domain. If you have the time, check out this video. This is a TED Talk about the experience of an intersex woman with figures of authority and how she decided to talk about it. It's a really interesting 15-minute TED Talk. So next, the ex-wife character, Sonia. Now here's my next point. Since Orlando's son is about the same age as his ex-wife Sonia, and her own child with Orlando is only about 7, I think it's safe to infer that at some point she also was the other woman. In fact, she says as much to Marina. So all this rage, all this anger towards Marina is not justified only in terms of the fact that Marina broke up a happy family. At some point, Sonia has also been the woman Orlando had an affair with. It's clear that what upsets her the most is not the fact that she was cheated upon as such, but the fact that Marina is trans. She keeps repeating again and again and again that she and Orlando had been a completely normal couple. We were a completely normal couple before you came along. Her problem is that Marina is trans. So Sonia is not just angry because Orlando left her for another woman, but because Orlando left her for a trans woman. Her brain cannot process that. It's interesting to me that Sonia does not exactly misgender Marina at any point. But what she calls Marina, to my mind, is infinitely worse. She does not, like the old police officer, call Marina sir. She's more subtle than that and more poisonous. She calls Marina a chimera. Now, what is a chimera? There are a couple of definitions, all of them telling. First, Greek mythology. A chimera was a fire-breathing female monster with a lion's head, a goat's body, and a serpent's tail. But as well as the Greek mythology reference, we also use the word chimera to refer to a thing that is hoped for, but is in fact impossible to achieve. When you chase a chimera, you will end up self-destructing eventually. Sonia's insult is both genius and downright evil. She calls Marina a monster with body parts that don't really go together. But she also implies that her transition, her claims to womanhood, are an illusion. She doesn't, in fact, just question Marina's womanhood, but she clearly implies that it's a trick, an illusion that will destroy anyone who comes near it. For example, Orlando. And given the fact that Orlando has just died, it's not even been 24 hours, that's really quite a cruel thing to say. So, let's put the ally and the ex-wife aside for a moment. It's interesting to see that all the other women who interact with Marina don't have any issues with the fact that she's trans. Every other woman just takes it in her stride. All of them. The waitresses she works with, the sono receptionist, strangers in the street, customers she serves, her sister. Everybody just gets on with their life. She's just trans, whatever. And it's not just that they accept Marina's trans nature, it's that Marina's trans nature is not a cause for concern. It's not really a thing. People are busy getting on with their everyday lives. She's just trans. It's not a thing. In contrast, these two women, one from a position of arch enemy and the other from a position of arch friend, they are destructive and angry. Why? Because they expect a narrative to emerge from the fact that she's trans. And because she defies these assumptions, they are furious with her. Okay, so moving on to my third point about this film. For me, this is such an elegant way of debating the dreaded bathroom question. In fact, it is a space of far more vulnerability than a public toilet, because everybody is naked. Such a clever choice of setting. This is a segregated space. Men and women are definitely in separate rooms. The receptionist is asked, and this fact is emphasized. I think it's very telling and very symbolic that we see a trans person glide from one space to another. It's very poetic because it shows you that trans people flow from one space to another and both fit and at the same time don't fit into both spaces. She kind of glides through the women's space and enters the men's space, and just by tying her hair back and lowering the towel from her chest to her waist, she passes. In this sono space, both the men and the women are stripped of their signifiers. There's no lipstick, there's no boots, there's no shorts, there's no high heels. Everybody is completely naked apart from towels. In this context, Marina passes both in the female and in the male space, but she doesn't comfortably belong in either one space or the other. Additionally, it is very clear that she is the most vulnerable person both in the female and in the male space. Not only that, but she's the most afraid person in the male space. So those were my 3 takeaway points from that Chilean cinematic masterpiece. So very much like this Chilean cinematic masterpiece, this Chilean Montes Cherub Rosé is utterly smooth and charming. But also likewise, this rosé is not intended for mindless enjoyment. Underneath the utterly delightful fruitiness, there are moments of powerful intensity that command our full attention. And I promise you, you will find the spurts of acidity absolutely mind-clearing. I think you could pair this with anything, from sushi and salad to pork and game. But may I suggest you pair this fantastic rosé by Montes Winery with A Fantastic Woman by Sebastian Leilo. Happy Pride Month, tasters. Cheers. Also, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you very soon.